Hi everyone, and as we reach the final episode of this series, it becomes clear that the true heart of delivery has never been the framework, the tools, the ceremonies, or even the rings themselves. The deepest truth, the one that reveals itself only after years of leading teams through uncertainty, is that delivery ultimately rises and falls based on the internal state of the person guiding the work. The leader is not just a role, they are a mirror. They reflect clarity or confusion, calm or urgency, and teams often constantly take their cues from that reflection. You can watch this happen in real time. A leader walks into a room carrying unspoken stress and the entire team tightens. Another walks in with grounded calm and suddenly people breathe again. One speaks with fear hidden behind assertiveness and the team becomes hesitant. Another speaks with true conviction, not volume but clarity, and the team leans forward. Leadership is an emotional transmission, whether we intend it or not, and the mesh responds to the leader's psyche long before it responds to their words. So this episode is all about understanding that power and carrying it with care. Every leader carries an emotional field that shapes the environment long before any decisions are made. In the way that they sit, the way they listen, the way they pause before answering. The kind of silence they leave in the air, teams are very sensitive to these signals because they're always calibrating themselves against the emotional climate. If the leader is anxious, the teams become vigilant. If the leader is chaotic, the teams become defensive. If the leader is avoidant, the teams stop escalating. But if the leader is calm, perceptive, committed, and receptive, the team becomes brave. That's why the 5 rings don't just describe the team, they describe the leader. A leader with a strong earth creates stability simply by being consistent. A leader with strong water responds to tension without panic. A leader with strong fire brings direction without dominance. And a leader with strong wind senses what others miss. Finally, a leader with strong void gives the team permission to think, to reflect, and to breathe. For example, I once worked with a delivery manager who carried the weight of the project so heavily that their presence altered the atmosphere of every meeting they attended. They were the kind of person who was really committed to their team success, but their mind was constantly racing. What if something was missed? What if a stakeholder was unhappy? What if the estimates were wrong? What if the team wasn't moving fast enough? They never said these fears out loud, but they carried it with them in their shoulders, in their tone, in the speed of their speech. And what they didn't realize was the team was mirroring them. The team took the same urgency, the same low-grade fear, and the same worry that they were on the edge of disappointing someone. The leader thought that they were protecting the team by absorbing it themselves, but the pressure was leaking through anyway, just via their presence. When we finally spoke about it, it became clear that the team didn't need the leader to hold the worry. The team needed the leader to hold themselves. They needed a leader to embody a steadiness that allowed them to breathe. And once the leader recognized this, they began to release the fear and the speaker became more calm, more grounded, the entire team shifted. The mesh recalibrated, the earth straightened, the water softened, the wind sharpened. The leader didn't change the process at all, but they changed themselves and the team followed. So really the best leaders are not the most loudest or the most directive. They're the ones whose presence will shape the room in the way you want it, whose clarity creates clarity in others, whose steadiness allows the teams to navigate uncertainty without spiraling. Leadership at the highest level isn't about control, it's about coherence. Leaders carry coherence within themselves and the mesh organizes around it. The more grounded the leader becomes, the less they need to intervene. They guide without forcing, they influence without dominating. Their impact becomes almost invisible, not because it's small, because it's so integrated. The team doesn't feel managed, they feel supported, trusted, and empowered. Now, a leader like this does not have to push decisions. They create the environment where decisions emerge naturally. They don't have to police the team. They create the conditions in which the team holds itself to the highest standards. This is the leader as a mirror, and for it to work, the mirror must first be cleaned. So it becomes obvious when you're at this level of leadership that delivery is not a technical craft, it's an emotional craft, a psychological craft, it's a relational craft. It's the work that you do on yourself, which is inseparable from the work that you do with the team. If you carry unresolved tension, it's the team's tension. If you haven't learned to sit with ambiguity, the team becomes frantic at the first sign of uncertainty. If you avoid conflict, the team learns to avoid honesty. If you rush through decisions, the team becomes careless. If you resist stillness, the team just forgets how to think. And the reverse is true. Cultivate clarity, the team becomes clearer. Cultivate calm, the team becomes steadier. Cultivate courage, the team becomes bolder. Cultivate awareness, the team becomes wiser. Cultivate spaciousness, the team becomes more innovative. The ring inside the leader is reflected by the ring outside the leader. And that is the leader as a mirror, not the hero, not the fixer, not the loudest voice, but the stillest. So as we complete this series, I hope you're picking up the realization that leadership is not something that you do, it's something who you are. Techniques matter, the rings matter, the mesh matters, but the presence, the emotional tone, the clarity, the calm, the courage, that's the strongest and most enduring force. The team is not looking at you for answers, but for orientation. It's not looking for certainty, but some kind of stability. It's not even looking for control, it's looking for coherence. You are essentially the mirror in which the team looks to understand how to behave. And when that mirror is steady, the team will become steady. The mirror is grounded, the team will become confident. So in the end, the 5 rings is simply another way of seeing the same truth, that delivery is human work, and human work moves in the way humans move, through clarity, through fear, through courage, through perception, through stillness, through instability, through connection, and through meaning. To lead well is to lead from the inside out. The book that this all developed into, called 5 Rings of Delivery, should be out soon on Amazon. Thank you for listening to this series of 10 episodes. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, and as always, stay agile.